Again, typical serving sizes for both fruits and vegetables often is going to be a half a cup. Now when it comes to fresh fruit, that is a different story. That does change very much. But when it comes to many items from the vegetables, it is about a half of a cup, if it is, or a half of an ear of corn, believe it or not. And you know, I always used to have clients that would come to the hospital to see me that are like, I can eat 3 or 4 ears of corn and, you know, and make a meal out of that. And I'm like, okay, well, each ear of corn is about 30 grams of carbohydrate, so it's going to add up really quickly depending on what it is that you're watching. So, a nice little yogurt parfait here. And again, we used yogurt today in a couple of the different recipes that it is that we made. Big fan specifically of Greek yogurt. We're real happy when Greek yogurt hit the market a few years ago. Greek yogurt greatly increases the amount of protein that you see in yogurts compared to a lot of the others. I love it that so many kids love yogurt these days, but let's face it, a lot of those kids go for some of those more sweet type yogurts that are out there on the market. There is a lot of sugar that is in yogurt, so when you get to Greek yogurt, again, for a portion size, which is a cup, you're looking at 170 calories, 23 grams of carbohydrate, but 18 grams of protein, okay? So you're just shy of 3 ounces of protein in a cup of yogurt. That's pretty significant if you're a person that doesn't always eat a lot of meat. So if, you know, if it's something easy to grab on your way to work that you could pack with it, you can add a little fruit to this if you wanted, or again, just like we did today, you can add a little peanut butter to get a little bit more protein into it and add some fruit to it. There's lots of different varieties. There's light and fit, so you can get Greek yogurt that has a few less calories, still significant protein. When you are done today, I do want to encourage people, if you want to come up and look at some of what I've put out, but I do have actually a lot of coupons for yogurt. I'm not necessarily trying to promote Dannon over Chobani or any of the other brands that are out there, but when I went to our conference last year, the dietitian conference, when you go through the expo, there are a number of companies that very much promote their items, and so if you sign up for things, you get various coupons in the mail, and it just so happens that Dannon very much promotes theirs, and so I have 3 different coupons for different Dannon yogurts. But anyway, just a great way. This can be lunch, this can be a snack, this can be breakfast if you're trying to mix things up by using a little bit of Greek yogurt. Again, gets a little extra protein into you, gets the dairy into you, gets some granola or some other type of, you know, grains like that of cereal, which gets your whole grains into you, and then the fruit. So, you know, we've hit quite a few of the food groups with one dish here, and again, healthy and can be low fat. So just looking for variety. So the grains, make half of your grains whole grains. And somebody was talking white bread over there earlier today, and yes, white bread does not typically have whole grains unless you're buying specifically whole grain bread, whole grain white bread, which some parents do just to kind of sneak it into their kids because they won't eat anything that looks brown or wheat or whole grain. So it is better for you, but let's face it, anything that says 100% whole, if it has enriched, okay, it's not a whole grain. It's not going to be as good for you. So whether it's 100% rye or it's 100%, you know, 12 grain or whole wheat or whatever it is, the grain that it is that you like, those are going to provide you with the most benefits. Some of the items that I have today, I brought in, I always have Belvitas at home. I happen to love these. It is something that when you travel a lot, you can grab them and go as you need to. Not that they don't pack some calories and some carbs into them, more than my typical bowl of Cheerios in the morning, but again, I'm not going to be having the milk that would go on top of it. I think that it says on here somewhere, 18 grams of whole grains that are in the Belvita. So again, this was one of the items that Nabisco highlighted at the conference last year, and they just put a little bit of yogurt and blueberry on it one day. There was a piece of cheese, you know, just a low-fat cheese that was on the oat, the plain honey oat Belvita. So lots of different applications and things that you can do to get a good whole grain carbohydrate that isn't too super high in your sugars as well. There are obviously some sugars. So when it comes to your whole grains, so here's the kicker. When it comes to those pastas and potatoes and rice, okay, what do you think a portion size is?
Not 2 cups.
It's not 2 cups, right?
2 ounces.
It's 2 ounces. For many things, it's about a half a cup, okay? If you're looking at it from counting your carbohydrates, it's actually a 1/3 cup cooked when it comes to rice and when it comes to pasta. But for many of us, it's about a half a cup. So if you were to go to Olive Garden, how much pasta do you think is on your plate when they serve you spaghetti and meatballs or chicken Alfredo or just plain Alfredo? Okay, we're talking cups, okay, then loaded in sauce or cheese sauce or both, depending on what it is. So it really is coming down to learning what portion size is. Often I have told clients that I've met with that we treat, or we should treat, those pastas and grains as more the side dish and not the main dish. It's very easy, and most of us would eat on a plate even bigger than this. But in addition, this is one of those things that we use this technique with some people trying to lose weight, to eat on a smaller plate, because when you decrease your portions, it actually looks like you're getting more food than putting smaller portions on a larger plate. Sometimes it's mind over matter. It works for some. It does not work for all. But again, if you take a look at trying to get the potatoes or the rice or the risotto or the quinoa or whatever, if you're getting into some of your healthier grains, your pastas, trying to make them the side dish. So it could be chicken parmesan, but your chicken is here. Maybe it's on top, but again, the chicken and the pasta is here. And try and fit that salad and those vegetables on the plate as well. That way you're going to eat less. Versus having the salad in the bowl next to the side and having the whole plate full of the spaghetti. Other ways to get your whole grains, there are so many more options available than ever before. I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't see whole wheat spaghetti and brown rice or whole grain rice. I mean, those things just weren't available, and they continue to hit the market. So making sure that you're really looking, I can't tell you the number of people that are like, I hate to go to the grocery store. I am the complete opposite. I love the grocery store. I would go to all the grocery stores because I'm one of those people that would look in the ads to look for where the best deal is. I'm also fortunate because I live close to Kroger, Meijer, and Giant Eagle, so I can go to all three of them if I want. Not that that's always recommended by any stretch of the imagination, but again, it's one of those things. I happen to like to go and look at the fresh fruits and vegetables and the various offerings. I like, and I will look at labels when I'm buying something new to see if it's going to offer some health benefits to us. So making sure that you're looking for those. Quinoa, couscous, all of these new grains, not that they're necessarily new, they're just kind of new to some of us over the last, 5 years. Great recipes. Make sure you look, again, pull out your phone or your tablet. You can Google allrecipes.com, Cooking Light, go to Pinterest. It's my favorite place where you can find all kinds of recipes, and you can tailor them down and make them healthier as well. The protein group. Make sure that we are mixing up our protein group. Most of us need, on average, honestly, about 3 ounces of protein at lunch and dinner, depending on how active you are, again, also how much you weigh and how tall you are and all of those type of things. It might be a little bit more for somebody that's extremely active. So sometimes you might see 3 ounces, at lunch and maybe 4 ounces at dinner. Again, we go out to dinner and sometimes, it's like, okay, we're treating ourselves to a steak, and it's a 13-ounce steak or whatever it may be, 11-ounce steak. Significantly more protein than it is that we need, and often, sometimes, a lot of high fat, depending on what that meat was as well. So just making sure that you're aware, we want to make sure that we get a variety of protein. Not everything from the red meat side is where we need to be careful. So making sure that, yes, if you want to do those lean cuts of red meat, if it ends in loin or if it ends in round, those are going to be your leanest cuts, of beef, okay? Pork, it's going to be the loin cut, so a pork loin roast or pork loin chops that are going to be the leanest cuts of pork. Make sure that you're getting some chicken, some turkey, fish. Fish really became big in the dietary guidelines for Americans, not just the ones that were just released this past year, but the ones 5 years ago, where we're trying to encourage more fish in your diet. Fish is low in fat, as long as you're not deep fat frying it. Make sure that you're making it the proper ways as well. And then, a lot of your fat, your salmon and many other fats have the good fats, the omega-3 fats that are involved. And then our last group is the dairy group, and making sure that we're doing that low fat and the fat-free choices. The chocolate mousse was made with skim milk, okay? And many of the other items that we're looking at are low fat or skim yogurts as well. It's still amazing to me, and again, remember, I'm a dietitian, so that's just the way that I look at things, but there are still so many people that drink whole milk, okay? And I hear from people, well, there's not as much nutrition if I drink that skim milk. It's blue, you can see through it. I've heard it all before. But actually, you don't lose the protein. It still has the calcium, okay? You're basically just losing fat and calories. So I just encourage you to gradually switch. Way back when, they used to consider 2% milk low fat. It no longer meets the definition of low fat milk. 1% or skim is where you're gonna be into your low fat milk. It has to be less than 5 grams of fat per serving, and there's 5 grams of fat in an 8-ounce glass of milk. So remember, it doesn't all have to come from milk. The yogurts, the cheeses, cottage cheese, those are all as well. So just looking for those ways to include the variety of fruits and vegetables in your diet. Experiment with them, add them into various salads, add them into different soups that you may be making. A lot of times I tell people, let's face it, many of us are, watching our budgets as well. So as you plan that meal, what can you do with those leftovers? Can it become a soup for the next day or into some kind of a meal? A few weeks ago, I went to some friends for dinner and she made the best, and it was a couscous salad. She called it the salad that went with our fish tacos that we were eating. And she had roasted golden beets and asparagus and, cauliflower and one other vegetable, and I'll have to remember what that is because I'm blanking at the moment. And then she mixed it with couscous and added a little bit of olive oil and balsamic vinegar and some avocado. Mixed it all together. It was fabulous, very flavorful, very healthy from a whole grain, and then getting again those green vegetables that were in it. So sometimes we just need to get out of our comfort zone and be like, just because I haven't had couscous doesn't mean that I might not like couscous or quinoa or many of those others. So again, also buying in season. When things are in season, of course, they're going to be a lot more economical. They're also going to taste better, let's face it, with that as well. But it's important to get all of that color that we can get. Fruit is a great, because of the natural sweetness and the natural sugar that's in fruit, it's a great substitute for desserts. And so we encourage that as well. So that was part of also putting the fruits out, again with a little bit of a protein punch by adding the yogurt and the peanut butter dip that can go on the side. Many people these days, when you go to the restaurants, we didn't think of it growing up, but they have a lot of fruits, don't they, in their salads? Sometimes you see the oranges in salads or strawberries in salads with the poppy seed dressing. So again, there are lots of different ways that we can experiment out of the box and get all of those in one dish. Encouraging you to make half of your grains whole grains. So looking for those more whole grain crackers, sweet potatoes versus just the white potatoes. Always, there's all different colors of potatoes actually these days. Making sure that from your cereals, and I wanted to get to the topic of cereals because we're going to talk a little bit and move down the table here in just a little bit. But anyway, so because there are all of those options now, doing brown rice or the wild grain rice would be better, and trying to substitute it out for your white rice. Again, trying the whole grain pastas and rice at home instead of always just going to the minute white rice, which we put with so many things. And then looking for cereals and snacks that are going to have some whole grain flours.